So, before I ask you a question, I would like to tell you that I regularly consumed alcohol under the legal consumption age, and I have no problem admitting that to you. I'm sure that comes as a massive surprise to you, and you're in complete shock at the moment. Now, my question for you is, by show of hand, how many of you have ever consumed alcohol under the legal drinking age? Please raise your hand. Good, thank you. Now, how is it that you can be sent to war and potentially pay the ultimate price for your country, yet you're not allowed to go to a bar? In what world does that make sense? It doesn't make sense in mine, and that's what I'm here to address today. By guaranteeing federal funds related to the drinking age, it will allow states to lower the age of consumption without penalizing them, giving adults at the age of 18 the freedom to consume alcohol without criminalizing them, as well as give them the opportunity to learn how to drink responsibly. Before turning 21, I've been legally allowed to consume alcohol for the vast majority of my young adulthood. When I was 18, I moved to Manitoba, and I spent about 6 months there. Then I moved to Quebec, where I spent a year and a half. And in both those provinces in Canada, the legal age of consumption is 18. After some time in Quebec, I moved to Ontario, and the drinking age there is 19. So I've had firsthand experience drinking illegally as well as legally during the ages of 18 to 20. I would move home in the off season, and that's when oftentimes I would be drinking illegally under the age of 21. And I remember coming home shortly after my season ended, both after my 18-year-old season and 19-year-old season, and going to a restaurant or a bar or wherever with even my parents, like the golf course I belong to, the golf club, and ordering a Mick Golden Light with my dinner or a glass of wine. And of course, upon my request, I would be asked to show my identification, and of course, I muttered a 4-letter word under my breath because I had completely forgotten that I wasn't allowed to drink in the United States as I wasn't 21 yet. I was just so used to being able to go out and order an alcoholic beverage whenever I wanted to. So this is completely outrageous to me. I have experience on both sides of the ball, and that's why I think my opinion should be taken into heavy consideration. So why isn't the drinking age lower than 21? In 1984, Ronald Reagan signed the National Minimum Drinking Age Act. This law was put into place to entice states to raise their drinking age to 21 or lose funding for highways. As stated by the Cornell University Legal Information Institute, states that elect to lower the drinking age below 21 years of age lose 8% of federal highway funds. The Concord Coalition is a nonpartisan grassroots organization that advocates for responsible fiscal policy. According to their website in February of 2016, the Federal Highway Construction Fund's main revenue source is an 18.4-cent tax per gallon of gasoline and a 24-cent tax per gallon of diesel fuel. This effectively translates to citizens paying for the highways whether or not the state has kicked back money for the highway construction. In other words, regardless of the drinking age, the law in each individual state won't affect the amount that we pay in taxes. So, how can we change this? Excuse me. The solution to this problem is not difficult to determine. In order for states to lower the drinking age, the federal government can't be strong-arming the individual states into abiding by what it wants. If the states were guaranteed the 8% of federal funds, it is possible that many would lower the legal consumption age. In fact, Minnesota is one of 3 states already in a bid to curb the culture of secrecy and binging often associated with underage drinking. However, the current legislation is proposed that if you are between the ages of 18 and 20, you would be allowed to only drink beer or wine in an establishment like a restaurant, a pub, a tavern, or whatever, but not any hard alcohol. So it's a step in the right direction, in my opinion, but it is not a full win yet. So, what experience do you have with drinking under the age of 21? While I was in Canada, I came to find that kids around the ages of 18 or 19 or even 20 were much more responsible for while they were drinking. I'm not saying that they didn't binge drink from time to time, but as a whole, they're much smarter about it. And it is common for kids at the age of 15 or even 16 to have a glass of wine with their dinner. And that's a part of their culture. They grow up in that. And as a result, they're taught at an early age how to be responsible about it because they're in a controlled environment, often with parents and family members that stresses responsible drinking and good habits. They don't have to go to isolated places to consume alcohol. They can drink in establishments at as early of an age as 18 in some provinces like Quebec, Manitoba, and Alberta. Dr. Ruth C. Engs of Indiana University agrees in an article last modified in 2014 where he says the legal drinking age should be lowered to 18 or 19 so that young adults can drink in controlled environments such as pubs, taverns, restaurants, and so forth. He came to this conclusion after extensive research that led to some shocking statistics about, for example, from 1982 to 1987, about 46% of students reported vomiting after drinking, and that jumped to over 50% after the drinking age was increased by Ronald Reagan. And according to one of the world's leading sources in the benefits and negatives regarding controversial issues on procon.org, they stated factually, in almost every country around the world, those with a drinking age lower than 21 have substantially less drinking and driving related incidents as well as fatalities. So, what can be done? The problem with drinking age right now is that it will be extremely hard for states to lower it unless they are guaranteed 8% of federal construction funds. So the solution would be for states to automatically receive that 8% tax revenue from the government or to completely bypass it altogether. And by doing this, our young adults will have the responsibility that comes along with drinking. We trust them in the battlefield, on the jury, and in the voting booth, but not with alcohol. I think that's something that we could change. So one thing you can do to effectively change and lower the drinking age is to lobby your state Senate representatives as well as Congress and tell them why the drinking age should be changed. You won't be alone. There are over 200 heads of universities as well as police chiefs who are doing the exact same thing for the exact same reasons. The drinking age of 21 drives underage drinking behind closed doors, underground, in unsafe places, and in uncontrolled environments. Lowering the drinking age would make drinking a part of our culture, and as a result, teens would learn how to drink responsibly at a much younger age than they do now.